Hi, and welcome to another episode of You're in Charge, Now What? I'm your host, Glenn Pasch. And the goal of this podcast is to help those of you that find yourself now in charge of a team, a project, or a business build the skills necessary to lead high-performing teams and generate consistent results. Each week, we're going to focus on one topic. I'm going to share some strategies that have helped me build my businesses in order for you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish through tactical strategies and skills each week. If you're new to the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. That would mean a lot to me this week. Each week, you'd get notified when we share out new episodes, as well as if you have any comments, please leave them down below. It would make me excited to hear what you're learning and what you're liking, and more importantly, what you'd like to hear me share strategies about, or go out and find some great interview candidates so that we can help you achieve your goals. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. We're talking about priorities. As a leader, we have a tendency to think, because we're in our position, that we can accomplish anything, that we're able to do anything. And a lot of times what that leads to is we try to do everything and we don't really get anything accomplished. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but I was reading a great book by Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, or past CEO of Disney, talking about priorities when he was sitting at his position in the transition from COO to thinking about, well, what do I have to do to become CEO? When he was sitting talking to the board and making his case why he thought he should take on this role, he had a consultant come in and help him figure out his strategy. What was his plan? What was he going to present? And he shares a story of, I wrote down about 10 topics, 10 things I thought, here's what I'm going to accomplish. And the consultant stopped him. He said, once you get past 5 or 6, they're no longer priorities. They're just a list of things to do, and you won't get them done. He says, when you're thinking of priorities, be it a project, be it a business, be it I want to show my plan for the future, he said, you get 3. And that's really interesting. 3 things. So for you listening to this, if I asked you today, what are the 3 priorities that you're working on? Again, priorities are not tasks. They're large scope, large overarching themes of what you're trying to do, because there are tactics and strategies and things you will accomplish that will move you towards that goal, but it's an overarching thing that he wanted to do. So in Bob Iger's case, one of his priorities was creating great content, continue to create fantastic content for his audience. He wasn't talking about volume. He was talking about great content. Now notice how once you have that overarching theme or priority, you then can say, well, what type of content do we want to create? How do we want to create this content? One of his other priorities was technology, embracing technology. How do we use technology to create better content, to create better products for our audience? And also, how do we distribute this? Because this was at the time when people were starting to move towards, there was cable and people were starting to move to devices, let alone where we are today with streaming. But if you think about that, we're going to leverage technology in a forward-thinking manner. Well, when streaming started to come out, well, that fit the priority, and now you can assign that to someone. So think about it for yourself. When you're even working on a very simple project, I'm dressed up today because we are doing our live stream event, and the priority for us was creating the highest level educational content we can do. Now, over these last 10 years, that's always been a very high theme of ours, or a priority of ours. And we've done it in our live events, our live conferences. And we thought always different ways as we approach the event. How can we get the best attendees and speakers? How can we attract the right sponsors? How can we create a theme for the conference? And then after we're done, we look at it and sort of deconstruct what we did to say, did we achieve this? What did we learn? What can we apply moving forward? But our theme was always the best that we can do. And so now, even during COVID, we earlier this year, our very first conference, the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, was the first live stream for automotive digital marketing. And we had to think our way through of how do we use the technology to maintain the high level of quality content for our conference, because that's always been our priority. So even for you, if you are working on a team or you're working on a business project or you've just starting a business project, you have to look at how that piece fits into your overarching business plan and what's the priority even for that project. You can narrow it down to say, what's the priority for this product or project or service or campaign? And then you can deconstruct it down. Then you're allowing tasks to go out. You're doing sub-projects or stages. But if everything files into your priority or your overarching theme, then it's think of it as your North Star to bring everything back. But again, you can't do everything. And so every year, we as a company, I as the CEO of the company, sit down and say, well, where are we going this year? What are we trying to accomplish this year? Because everything is changing. Did our priorities change? Or if our priority is still aligned, right? How are we providing the best services for our clients? If that's our overarching priority, well, then what are we doing this year to achieve that priority? What do we have to change? What do we have to edit? What do we have to learn internally? Do I need to get different staff? Do we have to develop new strategies? Again, we are proactive in our approach, but we also have to be reactive because in our case, as a marketing agency, we use other people's products like Google. And so as Google changes, that could impact. But again, if we have an overarching priority of the top service, the best service, then even if Google changes something, we can adapt within that priority. So again, to summarize, you as a leader, when you're setting your priorities, it's not a to-do list. Okay, your priorities are not a to-do list. Your to-do lists may fit into projects, things you have to do to move or attain your priorities or maintain your priorities. But I want you to take a step back after listening to this and just ask yourself, what are my priorities for my company? What are my priorities for my division? What are my priorities for my team or even my project? And narrow it down to 3. Because when you get 3 and you get really clear on those 3, then it's easier to move forward, accomplish the things that you want to do, and build on those successes. As I said, each of those little steps, each of those little tasks, each of those little pieces are wins for you. But that overarching priority, that overarching themes keeps you driving to that North Star versus pivoting and letting sort of the winds move you any way that you possibly can get tossed because you don't have your anchor in your priority. So I hope you found that helpful. If you did, again, if you've listened this far, appreciate it. Just click the like button down below. That'll get you to subscribe because then also you'll get notified every single week as I place out new episodes. So again, I thank you so much for your attention. It really means the world to me. Please share this out because there's a lot of people that can use this type of help, use this type of training, and that's my goal, is to serve you and help you become better. And as I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge, but now you have a new tool to help you become more successful. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.